This story is ever intriguing. San Diego State allegedly, and I say allegedly because we've talked to sources within the Mountain West Conference, allegedly gave notice that they were withdrawing. And we were telling you last week that there were questions about the timing of that. Pete Thamel at ESPN tweeted this afternoon that the Mountain West did not acquiesce and give in to the concessions requested by San Diego State in their letter that San Diego State says was not a notice of withdrawal. Would you have it any other way in the Pac-12? I mean, it is unbelievable to me. And I know that San Diego State fans, you're upset. You're frustrated with this show. I understand it. But I think we've worked really hard to tell you the truth about what's going on at San Diego State. And again, I just ask you, what the hell is going on at San Diego State? It's unbelievable to me that you have some of the top sports and academic administrators in the country at San Diego State, and they can't stop talking. And when they did finally write a letter to the Mountain West, it turns out the letter was murky and convoluted and asked for a bunch of things outside of their contract. Like, hey, we want to make installment payments on our $17 million exit fee, to which the Mountain West, we're told, said absolutely not. They wanted a 1-month extension on their exit fee, to which the Mountain West said absolutely not. And then San Diego State was telling people, no, we haven't withdrawn. That letter was just an inquiry, to which the Mountain West Conference, according to our sources, had a call and sent a letter back to San Diego State saying, we viewed your letter as a notice of withdrawal. Your $17 million is due on or before July 1st. And if it is after that, and actually it's June 31st, or June 30th, your withdrawal fee is due June 30th. And if it is a day after that, it is $34 million, not 17. So this is a big, big deal. And this number has changed quite a bit. I can tell you, talking to my sources at the conference and at the school, I believe the number is $34 million. And I want to get this right. There's a lot of people asking, hey, what is the withdrawal fee? The withdrawal fee for San Diego State is $34 million. It is not $51 million. Multiple people have reported, again, it's 51. It is not. It is $34 million. That is confirmed by the Mountain West. That is confirmed by our sources at San Diego State. It is $34 million if it is after June 30th. So there's a lot on the line here. And Jake, the thing that I come back to is it is stunning to me that an institution like San Diego State seems to be unable not to trip over their own feet on this.
Yeah, they just feel unorganized. And I think, again, I know I've hated on San Diego State, but there's nowhere for me to go other than, hey, it feels like you're a bit unorganized in this process, because really this should be a clean-cut situation. This should be, hey, we sent the Mountain West our, letter of intent to withdraw. Or, hey, we did not send that letter. We sent a letter of inquiry, as he put it. It shouldn't be a thing where it's like, oh, well, there's gray area here, and we want this, and we want that. And now there's confusion at the conference, and now we're on the hook for our money that it's seemingly, is a situation that they can't afford in a bulk payment, or maybe they can and they just wanted installments. I don't know. But I think the problem with the whole situation is that it puts everybody, not just the Mountain West, not just San Diego State, but everybody in really the space at awe, because you're like, hey, like, are you guys leaving or are you staying? Are you like, how is this all going to work out? When really it should just be, hey, we know the date. It's the 19th of June. That gives us, 11 days or so to figure out what exactly we're going to do. And that gives us 11 days to figure out if we have $17 million or if we're going to go ahead and rock out with $34 million or so. Like that's what the conversation should be. It shouldn't be, hey, we're in this gray area. And I almost feel like, not to be an asshole about it, but it kind of fits in with what the Pac-12 is doing. It fits in with the, hey, we're unorganized. Hey, we're not really sure, what direction we're heading with our TV deal. Like it's a little bit surprising. And so then I look at the Big 12 and I say, okay, well, what do we know from the Big 12? No matter who you're a fan of, we know that conference right now is very clean cut, cold-blooded, methodical, and thorough. That it's X, Y, and Z, and that's just how business is done. And so I wonder if San Diego State, and really if Brett Yormark looks at this and says, hey, this is a situation where you guys just feel unorganized, out of your element, not prepared for, major conference athletics. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that about a quality institution like San Diego State, but it is a little bit surprising that we got this kind of news late last week and really over the weekend, and now it's developed into, hey, we're in gray area again. So that's why I say it is surprising to me, but at the same time, this is a school that has been misstepping for a while now. So on one hand, it is surprising, and on another hand, for me, it's not surprising. Yeah,
it's shocking. It is shocking, and we talked about it with J.D. Wicker, the athletic director, when the best thing I could say is planted a seed with Seth Davis at the Athletic. When he told Seth one way or the other, we're leaving, it's just a matter of where, the Big 12 or the Pac-12, and then the president at San Diego State came out last week or a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, with that statement talking about how she is confident the Pac-12 can get them the, quote, pro rata that they deserve, which, as we told you on this show, shows a complete lack of understanding how TV deals are done. I think I have a lot of respect for San Diego State. I want to make sure that this is painfully obvious. I have a lot of respect for San Diego State. But this is some bullshit out of San Diego State. This is unprofessional. This is a lack of process. This smacks of an institution that does not know how to handle big-time business, that does not know how to swim in the waters that they would like to play in. It simply is amazing to me that San Diego State is in this position where they're trying to talk about the pro rata they deserve. They don't know what pro rata means. They don't know how a pro rata works very clearly by that statement. And you are dropping bombs about, hey, we want to be in the Pac-12. And then you put in writing that there are circumstances within conference realignment that are out of your control, so you'd like a 30-day extension. Like, what are you talking about? What you're talking about is you don't care about the Mountain West. What you care about is San Diego State, and I understand that. But the Mountain West has facilitated your opportunity to get to the Pac-12. It has facilitated your growth and your success, and now you're saying, hey, we'll pay you over time because we're not just going to hand you $17 million or maybe $34 million. No. We're going to pay you over time on our terms. Well, the Mountain West very appropriately said, no, you're not. And I want to understand it. Now, to be fair to San Diego State, we've asked them to come on. I asked to meet with J.D. Wicker when he was here in Salt Lake City, where our show is based for the college women's super regional of softball. They declined an invitation to have him on the show. We've asked, and we've asked, and we've asked, and we've been declined repeatedly. I understand that. San Diego State doesn't want to answer follow-up questions. But at some point, the details on this situation are going to come out. And it's remarkable that an institution, the esteem of San Diego State, cannot seem to figure out how to just take baby steps, how to just move forward for a larger payday, if that payday exists. Because I also think one of the bigger questions here in this conversation is, does San Diego State bring significantly more money? And is San Diego State the word we used on the title today is the savior of the Pac-12? Is San Diego State, in fact, the savior of the Pac-12, Jake? Because I don't actually think they are.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how you can make the case that San Diego State would save a P5 and really would save the Pac-12 given their situation. I mean, if we want to sit here and say that San Diego State is a quality ad, an institution that brings you more prestige, that brings you some geographic value, then absolutely I think they are. But I don't think they're it's not that I don't think. I know that San Diego State does not carry the same value as a team or as an institution, because they're not teams, they're institutions, as an institution that's already a P5 in whatever conference, right? That's just the first entry barrier, if you will. Like, hey, you've got to be a P5 and you've got to be good in football, and it helps if you're good in basketball. Those three things are what I think right now in today's college football climate create a quality addition to a conference. So if you're the Pac-12, okay, great. So you're geographically, you're helping us a lot. Now, from a P5 perspective, obviously San Diego State is lacking, right? And we all know that. That's not rocket science. But they're coming from the Mountain West, which is a pretty quality G5 conference. So maybe they make concessions. I don't know. At the same time, in basketball, you had an amazing year. I still maintain the consistency's not there, but you did have an amazing year in basketball this past season. And in football, it's been hit or miss. You've had several great years, and other years you've been down. So that's why I say it's not like you're a powerhouse every single year in one thing or the other thing, and you're, a P5. That's where they lack in value. So I don't think it like the question of, is San Diego State the savior of the Pac-12? I think a lot of people want them to be, but I think it's a stretch to say that they are. I think we can easily say, hey, yeah, for the Pac-12, it makes some sense because they need someone in Southern California, losing UCLA and USC. They need to recoup some of that geography because now the Big Ten's in their territory. But other than that, I just don't think for, let's say, the Big 12, it's that quality of an addition when you have Oregon State sitting up there and when you have Gonzaga sitting up there ready to go. I just don't know if you're the Big 12, why you do that.
Well, and I think there's a couple of red flags in this process with the Mountain West. Number one, that you're asking for relief and delay and then payment terms on your $17 or $34 million exit fee. That's scary to me if I'm the Pac-12. Because in my opinion, what it says is, and what we've heard is, that San Diego State, $17 million, they could handle. $34 million would be untenable for San Diego State. They would not be able to leave the Mountain West. They do not have $34 million without taking some significant steps backwards in athletic funding. So I think $34 million is absolutely undoable at San Diego State. I think the $17 million, they can handle it, but it is going to impact budgets at San Diego State. That's my opinion based on conversations I've had, that $17 million is not going to go unnoticed. It's not like they've just got a pile of hundies sitting around and they're like, oh, yeah, here's 34 or here's 17 or here's, tens of millions of dollars. San Diego State doesn't operate athletically on that budget. They don't. And I'd also remind you, they're coming out of this Snapdragon Stadium project. They have other development projects. Like, they're fine financially, but you cut a check for $17 million. That's a lot of scratch for San Diego State.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I think that's a huge factor. And I also think they're trying to figure out, because I was talking to a guy today very close to this situation. And I don't know if it was a mistake or a slip, but he essentially blurted out, hey, the Pac-12 deal's worth $20 million, and they're not going to get that much. They're not going to be a full share partner, so that $17 million is significant. And I clarified. I said, so wait, I just want to make sure. You just said the Pac-12 TV deal was $20 million. And he went back and said, well, 19.7, but yeah, $20 million. So the number is unchanged. And there were reports apparently from On3 Sports that the Pac-12 TV deal was going to come in at $22.5 million. We have heard $19 million for 6 months now, really this entire year. And now we just had somebody very high up in this San Diego State situation just blurt out, well, it's $19.7 million. So my feeling is, based, again, on people we've spoken to, that number's unchanged. I think it's $19 million per school per year. That's the offer that is currently being weighted by the Pac-12 right now. And if that's the number, and hell, round up to $22.5 million from On3. Hey, if it's $22.5 million, it doesn't matter, because San Diego State's not going to have a conference to go to.
Yeah.
Because I think the Pac-12 will lose half of their current members at $22 million.
Yeah.
Because the money is too plentiful in other places. And as much as I would like to see the Pac-12 survive, and as much as I would like to see all of the current universities and membership stay in place, I've been told by far too many people that $22.5 million is not going to get it done. $19 million is not going to get it done. That $25 million or more keeps these 10 members together for 3 years. Because you look at Washington State and you look at the situation that we've seen and heard about now firsthand from Kirk Schultz, the president of Washington State.
Yeah.
Like, you look at that situation, there's no spinning that. Washington State athletics is on the brink financially. $19 million is a death knell for Washington State athletics. They will have to cut. They will have to either take more money out of their academics, which, as we reported on this show, I can tell you department heads and administrators on the academic side are never going to go for that, because there is a belief at Washington State that they already spend too much on athletic budgets and that there's been a blank check given to athletics at Washington State. They're in real trouble athletically at Washington State. They're in real trouble. And let's not forget the Nick Rolovich lawsuit at Washington State. I think that's the exact example that I would use, that the penny counting, not the quarters or the dollars or the 50s and hundreds, the penny counting going on in the Pac-12 at certain universities is real. And you look at the money that San Diego State has not made on their athletics in general. Until this year, basketball was not a moneymaker. Football has not been a moneymaker. God bless Brady Hoke, but hey, man, like, they have not won. I think that's why the Snapdragon Stadium deal was massive for them. They're trying, but they're counting pennies. And schools like USC and UCLA are going to count Benjis. Like, Dion was not kidding at Colorado when he said it's Louis. They've got real money in places like Colorado, in places like USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Utah. Those universities make real money. You have a place like Washington State. You have a place like Cal Athletics. I mean, is in dire straits and has been for 10 years because of Memorial Stadium. Like, you have real issues going on around this conference. And San Diego State is talking about pro ratas. And I understand why you would take the pro rata from the Big 12 deal. The problem is ESPN's not bidding on your tier 1 rights. And certainly, let's say ESPN ends up with your tier 1 rights. Do you really think they're going to pay more money when there's no precedent? They're going to pay more money for a G5 school that does not have athletic success, especially on the football field. Especially on the football field. They just have not won consistently enough.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say about this before we get to your comments, because you guys have been incredibly patient today, I appreciate it. Everybody that keeps saying, well, they have the highest win percentage in the last 57 years. Against who? Because this is a problem for SMU as well. Because, again, and hell yes, I'm going to raise my hand and say it, who were the first ones to report SMU? The Monty Show. Mm-hmm. We had San Diego State and SMU, right? SMU and San Diego State don't make you more money. They don't. When is the last day? At least San Diego State has women's softball in the super regional, has basketball playing for a championship. When's the last time you've heard anything about SMU athletics? Badminton, sock folding team, anything. You hear a little bit here and there about their football program, but you're not making money on San Diego State and SMU.
Yeah.
You're making money on, hey, let's add Colorado and Arizona, right? So the Big 12 is going to make money on Colorado and Arizona and any other P5. The problem is you've been down for so long in the Pac-12, really, and let's go back to when Brett Yormark was hired, because that's when all this started. All the Big 12's been doing is up and to the right.
Yes.
Up and to the right. And all the Pac-12's been doing is down to the right. Like, you're going in the wrong direction. So it's going to be a hill to climb. I think there will be a Pac-12 on some level. But if it comes in Under $25 million, I think this conference gets decimated.
Yeah.
I think this conference absolutely gets decimated, and I don't see any way you fix that. I truly do not see how you fix that. Like it is, dude, it's a real problem.
Rough.
All right, let's go back to the top of the comment chain today, and let's see. I know a lot of people asked us about, hey, guys, where were you on Friday? We didn't have internet on Friday.
You guys doing a show today?
Didn't have internet on Friday. Not our doing. J-Rod, what's up? How about J-Rod, the first one in today?
What's up, homie?
Let's go. Truck Stop Gumby, how the heck are you? Dibs, good to see you. Capazzo in the Jeezy, what's up with you, my guy? David Sebesta, good to see you. Vorlon Angel, what's going on? C. Kaufman, good to see all of our old friends.
Yes.
Hanging out in the cut, good to see you. It's crazy that my phone will not stop ringing and will not stop buzzing today. It's unbelievable. So good to see you guys. Saul Goodman, San Diego is left waiting like the dog de las two tortas. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have said it worse myself. C. Kaufman, with all the mismanagement of the Pac-12, I'm surprised no one has left already. But
they
again,
have.
This is the number one question. This is the number one question I get. Well, if Colorado was going to leave, they would have gone already. But why? If you're Colorado, why would you make the move already? Why would you be the first one? Nobody in this conference, and again, I know I say this and everybody loses their shit about it. Please don't. I think we've talked to a high-level administrator or board of regent member at all 10 universities, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. Washington State was the last one, and about a month ago, we really cracked the code at Washington State, and we've got a really great source that we talked to there. But we've talked to all 10 members, and not one have said, well, damn it, you know what? I can't wait to get out of this hellhole.
Everybody is outraged.
Not one of them has said that.
Yeah.
In fact, most of them have said it is just self-inflicted damage, and it's completely unnecessary that we're in the position that we're in. I would say 7 out of 10 of them use that exact language.
Yeah.
It is self-inflicted damage that has put us in the position that we are in. Nobody in this conference is excited to leave. Nobody in this conference wants to, even Colorado does not want to be like the lone wolf to bail on this conference.
Well, and the reality is, business-wise, it doesn't make sense to do anything alone in the athletic landscape or in the educational landscape.
Certainly not.
I think this concept of Pac-12 schools, not wanting to leave necessarily, but being open to leaving is spot on in this whole conversation. Because, again, they don't want to leave the grouping that they have. They really like the relationships they have, but the problem is that the money is just so limited that you're not really giving them a choice. And so, like if you're Colorado, you're going to leverage those relationships to try to put a group together to go if you're going to go somewhere. So again, we've been saying it for, I don't know how long, months at this point. Like, again, Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal, that's one group. And then you've got, hopefully, Utah included with Colorado, Arizona, and ASU. And then Gonzaga's a cherry on top ad for the Big 12. Those are the two groups. And as far as Oregon State and Washington State are concerned, I don't know. I think Oregon State's a much more reliable school to say, hey, they'll find a home. Washington State, however, I'm not sure. Because even for the Mountain West, Washington State is a very risky ad.
Yep, I agree. Greatest ever.
Okay, this should be good.
Big fan of yourself. Gives us $5 today to say, I'm an ACC fan. I know, we aren't cool. Is there anything Jim Phillips, Northwestern alum, can do to make us stronger, or do we think we're done? I think the biggest issue in the ACC is that you have a bunch of people who can't wait to get out of that conference.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing how much money is being made in the Big Ten and the SEC, which is a very different situation than the Pac and the Big 12, by the way. But I don't see, outside of a merger with somebody like the Pac-12, and you're going to have to figure out grant of rights, I just think you're so crippled by that grant of rights. And you have the major players in the ACC that want out.
Yeah.
Florida State being the loudest of the loud here. You know, you look at the membership of the ACC, and they are awkward fits in that conference because of the money. I mean, Miami, Florida State, North Carolina, Duke. You think about the money those teams could make in the SEC. You think about the money that those people can make in other conferences. Like, it's a lot of money they're leaving on the table. And you have a school like Florida State that's talking about unequal revenue share. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
That is going to be tough. And I don't know. I really don't know how you fix that. Erica Cottle. Hi, Erica. To the Utah haters, I think it's wise for Utah to be careful and weigh all options before saying they're interested or even considering the Big 12 if the TV deal sucks, then the Big 12. Well, and I think that's exactly what Utah has done.
Yeah.
I think we've been reporting for a couple of months now that the people we speak to at Utah have told us point blank, it's nothing personal with the Big 12. That the single biggest concern is the lack of educational relationships, or the damage you would do to the relationships you have with Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal.
Yeah.
You know, like you have really fruitful revenue generating relationships. And I think they're worried about funding. I think Utah is newer to the research game. But that has not hurt them in their profile. They are doing tremendous things on the academic side up in Salt Lake City. And I just don't, I don't disagree with their stance at all. If the conference goes away, they're going to go to the Big 12. I think the Big 12 would add Utah right now today if they could.
Yeah.
And I think Utah would go if they absolutely had to. Mark Harlan, Taylor Randall. I mean, you have a bunch of really smart dudes running the athletic side of the game at Utah. And I do not expect that to change.
Well, and I think that concept you talk about, or you were talking about with Colorado, where it's like, why would you leave any sooner than you had to? I mean, again, you want to vet out the situation. You want to get to the absolute end of the rope, if you will, with your current conference before you leave. And again, for institutions like Utah who are competing in football, competing in a lot of different sports in their athletic program, like, you understand that. You don't want to just make knee-jerk reaction.
That's right.
The problem, though, is that you're going on. I mean, hell, we're approaching a year of this situation at this point with the TV deal. And obviously it's coming to its conclusion, but I think the reason people get impatient, like this commenter, I think, what was her name? Erica, I think.
Yeah.
Like, the reason, folks like Erica get impatient, and I don't blame them, is because it has been going on for so long. I mean, at some point, you have to kind of decide if you're going to go left or right here. And I would guess, again, it's the 19th of June. I mean, I have to think by the end of June, we will get something here. I mean, I just can't see it going past that. I don't know why it would.
It would be shocking. I mean, and when you're talking about, struggling financially and you're talking about, making decisions to change your fortunes, I mean, that's exactly what TryDayTrading.com/Monty is all about. I mean, you go there to change your financial fortunes. So you sign up for a $10 30-day trial membership. That's a tax donation. That's a tax write-off because it's a charitable donation. Doesn't go in anybody's pocket. It goes right to charity. And you get to experience the greatness that is Tri-Day Trading. And when you do a 30-day trial membership, my friends, it is not just like, well, you get some of it and you talk to a guy once. No, you get the whole thing. Because what Tri-Day Trading knows is when you go through a 30-day trial membership, you're going to understand that day trading is going to change your life. And I met a guy the other day at Costco, Jeff at Costco, who asked me about Forex and Tri-Day Trading. Yes, you can learn Forex trading at TryDayTrading.com/Monty. They do anything that you want. Foreign exchanges, that's foreign currency Forex. You can trade foreign currency. You can trade, shorts. You can be long on stocks. They're going to teach you how using their proprietary systems, softwares, processes, algorithms. And when you're ready to start trading on your own, they're going to fund your account with their money. And when you make money with TryDayTrading.com's money, they give you 80% of the profit. That's how confident they are that you're going to become one of the best day traders in the business. And again, before we get back to your comments, I'm just going to simply ask you. You went to work today, did you make $1,000? You went to work today, you hate your boss, you hate that they made you go back to the office. You and I both know it.
Mm-hmm.
You hated the train ride, the car ride, the commute. You hated Jim, the guy who won't wear deodorant sitting next to you. Why are you putting yourself through that? And you didn't make $1,000 a day. Stay at home. Work for yourself. Be your own business owner. Be your own boss at trydaytrading.com/Monty. You can do all that for $10 in a 30-day trial membership. Oh, you want a part-time job? Did you make $250 at work today? Did you make $300? Did you make $500? Because that's what part-time traders at trydaytrading.com/Monty make. See, because what they do is they set up all their systems in the morning. It takes an hour or two. All their trades are automated through the day. You come home and you've made $500 while you were at work. What could you do with an extra $300 to $500 a day? Yeah, me too. Hook it up. trydaytrading.com/Monty. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Let's get back to your comments on As the Pac-12 Burns, talking about San Diego State and this awkward situation with their withdrawal from the Mountain West. The very latest details are that we confirmed today, Pete Thamel reported that they San Diego State sent a letter of inquiry, is what I believe San Diego State was calling it. The Mountain West called it a notice of withdrawal. And that now you're on the clock for $17 million on June 30th. To which San Diego State said, hey, we'd like to make payments. We'd like to extend the deadline a month and then make a decision because the Pac-12 hasn't gotten a TV deal yet. To which the Mountain West said, hell no. It's June 30th. We're taking this inquiry as a letter of withdrawal, and you owe us $17 million.
You can't send a letter that says something to the effect of, hey, it's our intent to leave the conference, but here's a couple of requests. Like, how else is the conference supposed to take that?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say something like, hey, we're in a really interesting and dynamic situation right now. We love the Mountain West, and right now, our intent is to stay, but if we were to change our mind, is there any flexibility on X, Y, and Z? Item 1, 2, and 3, however you want to word it. But you can't tell the conference, hey, it's our intent to leave. Because what is that? That is a notice of, hey, we're leaving.
Darn right.
Like, in business, that's just what it is. Like, if you're going to send as they called it, an inquiry, okay, you can label it an inquiry, but if the inquiry says, hey, it's our intent to leave, that's giving notice to the conference.
Yeah, you're telling them you're leaving.
There's no confusion.
And what people don't understand is nobody can wait for you. People have to act in their own best interest. Just as San Diego State is, the Mountain West is as well. There's no doubt. Tom Dean said a few shows ago, I made a joke about an emergency colonoscopy and Monty jumped on me, but he makes a joke about a missing submarine. No, dude, you were joking about a guy, and a lot of people, it wasn't just you, Tom, were joking about the chancellor, I think it was. Could be wrong. Somebody in Colorado had to have an emergency colonoscopy, reportedly. Yeah. And people were joking about it. And if you're having an emergency colonoscopy, that's life and death. That's not something that I would be joking about. I just don't think it. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy that has a very serious health issue. And I hope that was never true. I'm certain it was never confirmed, but I just wouldn't joke about stuff like that. And I am certainly not joking about this submarine in any way, shape, or form. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a submarine, and we'll talk about it in about 90 minutes in our non-sports stories. There's a submarine missing at somewhere, I'm assuming the bottom of the Atlantic, where people paid $250,000 a seat, 5 people, $1.2 million, paid to go down to the Titanic wreckage, and they lost communication and the submarine disappeared. And I'm saying to myself, dude, if you paid $250 to sit on this submarine, I'm sorry, dude. I got to ask you what you were thinking. Because, by the way, you're going down in an area where a ship sank. That's dangerous, and you paid $250,000. Nah, bro. I mean, I'm in a limit on that. I can't see doing that. Cannot see doing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Who else? Kyle J. This show used to be pretty fun and positive. Now it's just constant bashing and negativity. It is, and it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. I've never understood that about why we can't have open, honest discussions about something like San Diego State.
Yeah.
Or Utah, or BYU, or the Big 12, or the Pac-12, or we want to get into this thing where we're throwing punches at each other because we disagree. Why don't we talk about the things we disagree on and have open, honest conversations about them? Like, that's the thing that I've never understood. That's what I don't understand. Truck Stop Gumby, Mountain West, hell no, to the na. I love that song, by the way. It's always good to see that video. Let's see. JM says Kliavkoff is in over his head. Dude can't even manage adding a G5 program. Well, I don't even think it is adding a G5 program. I don't even think this has to do with George Kliavkoff. I think hopefully George's singular focus is on getting a TV deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a San Diego State problem. San Diego State, what's the right way to say this? San Diego State's feeling itself right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're feeling.
We're San Diego State, baby.
I think on one hand they are.
We're a big deal.
Well, it's kind of this tricky thing where if you're San Diego State, of course you have to evangelize for yourself because nobody's going to. So yeah, I mean you gotta live it up a little bit. But
absolutely.
But I think at the same time, you're feeling the pressure of time. You're starting to be like, okay, hey George, and again, just speculating here, but I have to imagine J.D. Wicker or Adela Del Torre have had conversations with George Kliavkoff and have said, hey, like, where are we at, George? Like, what can we expect? We have this exit fee and we, 17 million we can handle, but 30 plus is going to be really rough for us, and we're not going to be able to do that. And so where my head goes on this whole inquiry, or as the Mountain West said, notice they're leaving the conference, is like, okay, if you're going to send a letter like that, you wouldn't have sent that if you weren't confident that the Pac-12 situation wasn't going to work out in your favor in whatever variety. Because again, the other thing here is that for San Diego State, being at $20 million a year is a raise. All day, that's a raise from where you're at in the Mountain West. So for you, the Pac-12 TV deal is fine. You're good with that. The problem is that you're not a P5. You would be coming into a conference and turning yourself into a P5. And the language around that inside of this new Pac-12 TV deal is yet to be uncovered. So we don't know. Hey, right now in this new TV deal, like he just said 10 minutes ago, there's probably not going to be an ESPN pro rata. Couldn't believe it. I would be shocked. And so, okay, if ESPN's not giving a pro rata, then what? The streaming partner is? Is that what you're telling me? You're telling me that somehow, some way, let's say Apple, they figured out a way to be half in and half out with Apple, and Apple's going to pay extra for a G5 team to come into a P5 conference? Come on, dude. Apple's not that stupid when it comes to streaming.
I think that was a misspeak by the president of San Diego State. And listen, I have criticized George Kliavkoff, the commissioner of the Pac-12, on this show a lot. This is not his doing. Mm-hmm. This is not his doing. And this is the reason I continue to ask, at what level is San Diego State competent? At what level is San Diego State operating where all this is a legal notice that says, hey, we're leaving the conference.
Yeah.
And they had to submit that notice before June 30th, or it was going to cost them 34 instead of 17. And they asked for a discount, and they asked for an extension, and like on and on and on. And by the way, the other thing that was made painfully clear to me today, this does not mean San Diego State is leaving. That's not what this means. This means that it is our intent to leave, and it's essentially a contract. They have a contract with the Mountain West, and they have a certain way that they have to go about exiting that contract. They have not fulfilled those terms to exit the contract yet. And what the Mountain West is doing is taking action because I think they'd like to add St. Mary's. I think they would like to. I think they'd like to add, the Dakotas. I think they'd like to add Montana. I think they would like to add certain schools that work in their regional footprint and make them more money in basketball.
Yes.
I think that's exactly where the Mountain West is. And I think they know Gloria Nevarez, the president or the commissioner of the Mountain West, on the show several weeks ago, said when I took the job, I knew San Diego State was leaving. It's inevitable that they're going to go. They have a list. They know who they're already talking to people. They know what's coming. Because as soon as Gonzaga leaves the WCC for the Big 12, I think you are going to see a fire sale on WCC teams.
And by the way, what does all this mean? Again, just in the big picture, got to remember in the back of your head here on the back burner, anytime a team shifts conferences, you have to renegotiate TV deals, right? So if San Diego State leaves, and let's say they add whoever they want to add, okay, well, we got to renegotiate that TV deal.
Got to go back to our TV partner.
Right?
Yeah.
So not only is this a Pac-12 thing, but this is a very much a Mountain West thing, and this very much is this conference and that conference. They have to figure out their own distribution situations.
That's a great point, dude.
The Mountain West, just the same as the Pac-12 or San Diego State, has to act in its own best interest.
Yes.
So why would Gloria Nevarez cut San Diego State a break? Well, they wouldn't, because that doesn't help them. And again, San Diego State's sending the message they don't care about the Mountain West. So I'm not saying that San Diego State is trying to make it personal or trying to be
even doing bad things or wrong things. They're just not executing on a business level.
Yes.
They're doing, if we're truth telling, which is what our brand on this show is, the truth in sports talk. If we're truth telling about San Diego State, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. More money, grow your athletic department so you can extend your reach, which means you make more money. That's what their job is.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. Aztec Warcry 61 says we pulled a boneheaded panic is not a good look. We are a quality sports program and academic institution. I probably should have gone there so I could learn to read. But are in over our heads. We are the ugly woman on speed dial.
Well,
I don't know about that,
dude.
I think the thing that comes to my mind is, you know that your value is exponentially higher in the Pac-12 than it is in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because to join the Big 12 pro rata, you don't qualify for the ESPN pro rata. ESPN's not going to pay for you. So what's going to happen is other teams are going to have to kick back to pay for San Diego State. Well, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Now, from what we understand and what we were told by TV industry sources, Brett Yormark has had discussions with San Diego State and with Fox Sports, and Fox has agreed to pay a certain amount for San Diego State, but it's certainly not going to be $31.7 million, right? But they want that basketball property. I think ESPN, just reading the tea leaves of who I talked to, ESPN, I think, would pay a certain amount.
Yeah.
I think their number is somewhere around $10 million. I think Gonzaga's number is somewhere around $20 million. Mm-hmm. The problem for San Diego State is your football program does not generate revenue for the Big 12. And frankly, San Diego State football, I think, would be on the mat for several years. Several years. You're walking into what I think is one of the top football conferences in America in the Big 12. I think it's a better football conference, even if, and I know I get killed every time I say this, even if TCU backslides a little bit this year, which I think they will, but even if TCU backslides a little bit this year, you are a better football conference than the Big Ten is. Does that mean that you're better than Michigan and Ohio State? It does not. And I didn't say that. On the whole, I think the Big 12 is the second best football conference in the country because there's nobody touching the SEC. Let's just agree to agree on that. Mm-hmm. Nobody's touching the SEC. I think the Big 12 is second. I think if Florida State had pulled their head out of their collective asses, I think that the ACC could be third. And I actually think the ACC and the Big 10 are very, very close. Very close. But again, if if the Big 12 adds Arizona and Colorado, they are very clearly the second best football conference in the country.
Yeah.
Hands down. But what's Matt Rule going to do at Nebraska? We've had this discussion. My point is San Diego State doesn't fit that bill. Now, you want to put them in the Pac-12? I think San Diego State's a wonderful fit. I think that you would be foolish if you are Pac-12 presidents not to kick back a little bit to get them into the conference, because I think you would. I would also ask, why the hell are you going to add SMU when you can have Tulane, who I think is a far better fit in the Pac-12 than SMU, but that's just me. I understand geographically there's some people in the Pac-12, from what I understand, several presidents, 4 of them particularly, don't believe that reaching past Texas is a good business decision. Okay, that's well thought out, actually. I think it's pretty smart. I don't disagree with that. You don't want to go to Tulane in New Orleans? Okay, I understand it. Tulane's a better fit than SMU. Let's just, I'm not saying you guys are wrong if they don't add. I'm just telling you, Tulane's a far better, academics alone, Tulane's a far better fit than SMU.
Take geography out of it.
Yeah.
Tulane's way better.
Well, Tulane's a way better fit.
Yeah.
In my opinion, a way better fit. All right, let's get your super chats in here. Appreciate it. Rowdy, every point gives us $5 to say Oregon and Washington aren't going to give up $50 million a year to stay in the Pac-12. $17 million, $19 million, $22 million. What difference does it really make? I think if you're under $25 million a year, they're going to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is that it's kind of this concept of like, hey, you're comfortable with your friends in the current conference, and going to a new conference is it's not as though you haven't met the people in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or any of these other conferences, but you know how it is. Like when you're doing like Oregon, when you're Oregon and you're doing business with, Stanford and Cal and Washington on a week by week basis, that's a different experience than going into the Big 10 as the new kid on the block and having to try to negotiate.
But isn't this San Diego State wins every game that they've ever played for the last 17 years.
Listen, San Diego State fan,
when they're up 34.
Dude, I get it. Evangelize, bro.
Over a junior college, they're undefeated.
Evangelize, bro. I just think that again, your calling card if you're San Diego State is geography. If you were in another state, not California, we wouldn't even be talking about you. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but that's just the reality of the current climate. The Pac-12 has a need. San Diego State, for the most part, fills that need.
Yeah.
But the problem is San Diego State, seemingly, based on their words, don't know behind the scenes if it's true, but they seem a little greedy. They want more. They want as much money as they can get. And I understand that. But have a slice of humble pie a little bit. Do business better, and you will get the results you want.
I don't know. To me, it just sounds like they're a little bucked up because they probably had their buckshot. You guys, golf this weekend was spectacular, and I got to tell you this stuff right here. Buckshot from bucked up. Saved me some strokes, yo.
Saving strokes is the most important thing.
Shot an 81 and an 82 up at Canyons, and I feel like my back nines were much better than my front nines. Right? Played 18 both Saturday and Sunday. Especially on Sunday, I was dragging. It was about the 7th hole. I had hit a bad tee shot down into this par 3, and I was like, you know what? That's it. That's it. I got to stop. I left this par 3 way short, and then I hit it over the back of the green. Mrs. Monty was waiting for me in the golf cart. I walked back over there, grabbed a buckshot, hammered that thing, chipped on, putted out, went to the water hole with the island green.
13.
13, thank you. Went to 13, and my second shot was just crushed over the back. I got back there, and that's when I felt it, that rise mentally, and I was like, you know what? Dude, you just hit a bad iron shot. It's fine. Dropped because I actually hit it off of a building onto a dirt road. I hit my iron off the tee, off of a building onto a dirt road. Picked it up, dropped it in the rough off the side of the green. And here's where I know it made a difference. I hit a really good chip, hit the rough, and I wanted it to bounce down onto the green. It took a left-hand turn. Don't know why. Hit the rough, boom, left turn. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good chip. I was able to chip in. I bogeyed the hole. But you know what? That chip was a really good chip.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. It allows you to think and execute. And what did I do? I stepped up to the nemesis
Yes.
My nemesis, the 14th tee box at Canyons Golf in Park City. The hardest hole on that course for me. Stepped up onto that tee box, bombed a drive. Now, truth be told, hit my fairway wood, but then stepped up and cracked a 6-iron. Was amazing. Missed it a little right. Chipped down in the green. One putt, boom, done. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. And I'm telling you, it's buckshot. Get 6 free buckshot samples right now, guys, in the description below. Don't take my word for it. Feel the mental lift that you get out of it because it's high-powered, clean-burning energy. Lasts you all day long. My favorite flavor is the green one. It's the watermelon. You can see that I drink that one right here. I have one of these every day, right about right now on the show, and it just powers me home. I think better. I feel better. I have more energy. And, by the way, not to foam at the mouth about Bucked Up, their one-day sale last week was so good that they sent out an email saying we got an overwhelming response, so our shipments are going to be delayed. I got my shipping notice today. That's how many of you took advantage of the Bucked Up sale. You went there, you dominated it. Great job. Go get their free samples. Their Buck Bars, you guys, are just as amazing as I tell you every single day. They use whey protein isolate. They sweeten it with things like dates. It is the best protein bar I've ever had, and not because they advertise on the show.
Yeah.
I hate bars. I have always struggled to find one I like. I love the Buck Bar from Bucked Up. All right. By the way, if you want to, if you need supplements, make sure you use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout at Bucked Up. Let's run through some of your comments. Carson gives us a $5 tip to say, what happens if San Diego State leaves and the Pac-12 falls apart? What's the likelihood Washington and Oregon accepts the deal? But this is what I've talked about multiple times.
Right.
Think about the Big Ten and the Big 12. Why are they not in a hurry to make these teams act? Because time is on their side, right? They know that if they get to July 1st and there's no media rights deal, teams are going to start jumping.
Yeah.
I'm confident of that. Because they don't have the San Diego State problem. They have no grant of rights. Their grant of rights is expired. They're in the last year, a year from now, essentially a year and 12 days. That's what's left on the Pac-12 media rights deal. The conference has all the leverage. So when we're talking about a conference failing, the Big Ten would win in that situation because they would get Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal.
Yeah.
I believe those 4 would wind up in the Big Ten. I think the remaining 6, I don't know what will happen to Washington State. I truly don't know. I think certainly the Arizona schools, Colorado and Utah, my guess is Oregon State would wind up in the Big 12. And I think you're also going to get Gonzaga in the Big 12 as well, but that's basketball. Remember, they don't have a football program at Gonzaga. So that would be, if that scenario plays out, I think that's what would happen. The question is, how much leverage will Oregon and Washington lose? Because that's really the conversation that's happening in Pac-12 circles right now. How long can we wait? Because if you go right now, if Taylor Randall at Utah or any of these presidents, picked up the phone right now and said, hey, Brett, we're ready to go to the Big 12 right now. What do we need? Let's get this done. They're going to get the biggest payday. Now, what I think will happen is a group of 2 or 4 of them will jump to the Big 12. If there's not a deal in the next, I think by the end of the month even, I can't believe we get back from summer break and nobody's gone. If this just continues on, no communication publicly, so the spin continues, which, God, I hope, please do not let that happen. But I think that's what would happen. I think you would see, in all likelihood, you will see some people move. At what point does the Pac-12 turn into a G5?
An excellent question.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think it ever happens. I mean, if you stay together as the Pac-12, and you add San Diego State and SMU, your standing will not change.
But I think this concept of, hey, they lose these 2 groups and most of the conference is gone and you're trying to scrap together a conference. It's like, let's say you had San Diego State, SMU, and Washington and Oregon State. That's not a Power 5
But
conference.
I'm just
You know,
not. I'm not there. And I know, again, the things that piss people off. I'm not the guy that believes doomsday is coming to the Pac-12. I'm just not. I think Arizona State, and Colorado. They've talked so much.
Yeah.
I think they want to leave. I think if the number's under 25 million, they're going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to leave. But I could see a scenario where just Colorado leaves. I could see a scenario where they get $22 million, let's say, or whatever number you want to play with in your head. I could see, because I think Colorado's fed up. That's how it's been described to me, that Colorado's just fed up.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like there's been so much noise and so much BS. I think they're just fed up. So I think they're ready to move on. That would not surprise me if they moved on. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think I feel I have hesitancy saying that the doomsday or whatever is coming into the Pac-12, but there's nothing here that says that it's going to stay together. I mean, again, we're not hearing the conversation isn't, hey, 35 or 40.
Right.
The conversation's 20 or 25, and if it's less than 25, you can kiss this conference goodbye, in my opinion, because I think teams, again, are going to go where the money is. And the problem is the gap is so wide between the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Like, it just, I just can't see why a team would stay if it's 20 versus, 70.
Man, really?
Like, that's a massive difference, man.
Yeah, I agree. It's a massive difference. And I think the question is, in the likely scenarios of things, I think there are likely scenarios versus, I think there's a lot of people trying to spin tails for you. And I think the likely scenario, well, I'll describe it after you hear about the marinara meatballs at Papa Murphy's Pizza.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do meatballs and marinara.
Actually, I do the meatballs and marinara.
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Order now at papamurphys.com.